Hello, spring break's over. Over spring break, I had some time to spend with family and a little bit with some extended family. And we talked about a number of things, and one of the things that came up, my children are always calling me old. And I don't feel so old, but in any event, it struck me that I graduated from high school 30 years ago, from Highland High here in Salt Lake 30 years ago. And I've got a son who's graduating here in 6 weeks or so. And as I was getting close to graduation, my own graduation, there was a newspaper article on several of us that were going to college and doing some different things, and I indicated that I was going into education. And after that edition came out of the school paper, there was a teacher I'd had a couple of times, a history teacher, and he saw me in the hall and he said, "Martin, I just read that you're going into education. Why in the world would you do that? Why would you do that?" And I thought, wow, here's a teacher saying this, and so I didn't pay a whole lot more attention to that comment other than remembering it, which frankly is pretty much what I did in his course. I remembered what he said but didn't really internalize it. My father was an educator. Some of you might know that. In fact, he taught 6th grade at Crestview Elementary for a number of years. But when I told him I was going into education, he said, "Oh, son, do you know how hard that's going to be? Do you know how hard that is?" And then we talked some more and chatted some more. Later, I heard him talking to somebody else about our conversation, and he said to that person, "Martin's going into education, and on the one hand, I think, oh my goodness, do you really want to do that and go through all of the difficulties that'll be associated with that over the next years of your career?" And then he said to that other person, "But then on the other hand, I thought, what greater profession is there? And how honored I am," said my father, "that my son, me, is going to follow in that same profession, is going to be a teacher as well, be an educator as well." Well, so now it's 30 some odd years later, and I've got a son who's graduating from high school, and I've got a daughter who's down at UVU, and they're both going into education. And we talked about that a little bit this past weekend, and I thought, oh, do you guys have any idea how hard that's going to be as you go into a profession where there's all those voices that are deliberately speaking poorly of the profession as a whole and of the job that we do, and you go in and you just want to do your best, and you just want to teach kids, and you just want to make a difference in people's lives and in the future. And then on the other hand, I am so honored that my own children want to go into education. They want to be teachers and educators as well. What an honor that is. And so as I've thought about that the last couple of days, I so want to thank all of you educators, all of you out there. We do hard work. And you in the classrooms and in the schools, as you work with parents and as you work with children and as you work with regulations and as you work with policies, thank you so much for doing this great work, this most honorable of all professions, this great work where we touch and shape and change the future and change children's lives and families' lives. There is no greater profession, and I thank you for being in it with me. Thanks so very much.